back everybody to Ang's channel, and today we just finished reviewing the stocks from Mac 7, and today we will be specifically making a video to rank each and one of them according to their fundamentals as well as their economic modes, and let's get right into it. In today's video, we'll be ranking the Magnificent 7, so without further ado, we'll be looking at the first one, which is going to be Tesla. We can actually see that the revenue is actually increasing tremendously. However, in the recent quarters, we have managed to see some certain consolidations and then slightly pullbacks on their sales. Overall, the revenue is pretty cool. And as well as for the net income also shows a gradual increase over the years and quarters. However, recently we have a really depressing decreasing of net income hugely, and which also leads to further downward, which is kind of a concern for me in this company, whereby although it has very strong innovation, their earnings and net income, they don't actually earn a lot. In terms of free cash flow, the free cash flow is actually pretty good, although that in the previous years it has negative free cash flow, but recently it gives very high in terms of free cash flow and starts to come to the near 0 points recent quarters. In terms of net cash, Tesla actually have lots of cash compared to their total debt, meaning that this company is actually quite safe in terms of long-term holdings, because as long as it has higher cash than debts, then this company won't go bankrupt that easily. And as for the ROE and ROIC, we can see that, so in this case, we can see that the ROE and ROIC for Tesla is actually facing a tremendous decreasing trend, and both are actually below 10%. And in terms of strengths and weaknesses, it is clear that Tesla is actually the pioneer of the electric vehicles, so it's the global leader, and it also has strong brand and tech images, as it provides a pretty premium design of electric vehicles for the users. It has super high branding power, and it also has vertical integration, whereby they actually starts from the manufacturing batteries, the components, to software building, as well as manufacturing of the entire process. So meaning that they have the supply chain until manufacturing, which they actually control everything. And as for the weakness, it has high dependency on few models, so they don't actually have that much model, although recently they have came out the new design of Tesla model, which allows self-driving, which they actually implement for self-driving taxi, as well as to allow the buyers to earn extra income from that car as well. So it's pretty cool, as well as safety concerns and increasing competition, as well as the CEO reputation for volatility. One thing I don't like Tesla is because of uncertainties. For example, maybe this month it will go back to the White House again, or for example, there's another news coming out about Elon Musk, which make a revolutionary innovations or ideas, which can be crazy, and that is why the volatility of this stock is pretty high due to the uncertainty, or maybe perhaps involving some of the political ideas as well. And in terms of competition, as we said, we have the BYD from China being as one of the biggest and largest electric vehicle company that has widely been seen in Malaysia. BYD is more than Tesla in terms of numbers of vehicles that I have seen in my surroundings. And they also have Ford, General Motors, and Hyundai Kia. Although these two cars have been a long branding, but in terms of electric vehicle, I don't think they are producing any threats to Tesla. As for the mode, Tesla is actually having supercharger network, which is their own supercharging network, and they also have their brand loyalty, their vertical integration, as well as the manufacturing scale. So it's pretty large until they are being able to export their product out until Malaysia. They also have this switching cost, where if you want to change to another brand, basically you have to just buy another brand new car. So after looking at the Tesla, where would I put it? It's actually, I will be putting it at the positions of C, because although Tesla has been that company that always come out with something revolutionary, something great, change humans' life. It's just that this company has very high uncertainty due to its political involved CEO, which somewhat can bring uncertainty, as well as the sign and uncertainty on the financial parts. We see some slight decreasing ROE, ROIC, as well as the net income. So I'll place it on the C. In the future, maybe this company starts to grow, starts to have strong financial balance and balance sheets, then only then I'll be considering Tesla, because Tesla, the renovation and as well as the innovation is pretty strong and it's a pretty good company. Into the second one, we have the Alphabet, which is Google, and we can see the revenue is significantly increased, which shows that the signs of strength in terms of this company, in terms of sales, and they earn a lot of great monies. And net income as well, we do see some down pullbacks over here, and afterwards the company just making positive net incomes and increasing growth for the rest of the years. And we also have huge increase for the recent quarters as well. And as for the free cash flow, although you can see that there are actually a seasonal pattern whereby it just go ups and down, the value actually overall went up, and the all-time high is just making higher highs. So we'll be seeing whether or not if the recent quarters of the coming quarters are going to present or produce a higher free cash flow, which always indicates that this company has that strong money-making machines. And for the net cash, we can see that actually Google has a lot of free cash, more than their debts in terms of 66 billions. However, this amount has been dropping since 2020 until today, but this is not a concern, as it still indicates that Google is a strong company due to its strong financial statements of having more cash than their debts. And in terms of their ROE and ROIC, is pretty significant good because of their increasing both status, with staying above the value of 15%, with each ROE is at 34 and 21% of ROIC. And in terms of strength and weaknesses, we can see that the Google is actually having that advantage of search engine dominance, which is the Google search. They also have this YouTube platform. They have Google Cloud, as well as massive cash reserves in order to face certain economic problems. So in terms of weaknesses, Google, as we mentioned, it has very high antitrust lawsuits and regulatory pressure, whereby they continuously being sued due to antitrust issue as well as monopolies. And they also have cloud that is still behind the AWS Azure, which is competitive with the Amazon as well as Microsoft. It also heavy reliance on the ad revenue, which is over 70%. So this company's competitor is actually Meta, Amazon, Microsoft, and TikTok, whereby these few companies are there for 5 to 10 years, even 20 years already, that has been just competing with each other, and I don't see there's any reason why one of these companies should go bankrupt or should lose the game, because all of these are doing great job and each of them just pushing each other to become a better company. So in terms of mode, this company has great YouTube dominance as well as AI expertise in terms of Google DeepMind or Gemini, and it actually controls 90% of all the global online search activity. So it's pretty huge. And plus, the user base of YouTube is very large, and if YouTube was no longer exist, it will be kind of like losing this huge platform with huge users data, which is actually very, very important and useful in terms of advertisement and sharing ideas. Without YouTube, there are many things that will not exist, and there will not be much entertainment in this world again. Google, being as the company with a strong foundation in terms of financial statements, it has increasing revenue, net income, free cash flow, and it also has increasing ROE and ROIC. However, just certain few things is that it has very high pressure in terms of lawsuits as well as antitrust issues. However, I will be putting Google at positions of A, because this company consistently brings in profit to the buyers, to their shareholders, and right now it's actually sitting at a cheap price, which actually attracts a lot of buyers from the market. And the reason I don't put it as S, because sometimes this company can be a pain in the ass because it's just somewhat the lawsuit just comes in randomly and the stock price just tanks. Moving on, we'll be looking at Apple, which is crazy these few weeks because it's not moving. And for its revenue, we can actually see that the revenue is actually increasing. However, you can see somewhat pattern of seasonality in terms of revenue. For every December, there's a spike of revenue. So this might be due to the fact that every year there will be sales of iPhone services or discounts. So that is where the time their revenue spikes up. However, in the long run, the company actually still makes money. And as for recent quarters, we can observe a very flat or even decreasing revenue, which kind of become the certains or concerns of this company, whether or not it will continue to make greater sales in the future. And when we look at the net income, yes, the company still have increasing net income, but to the fact that, hey, the recent quarter we see something like a pullback on the net income and somewhat flat. So indicating that this company starts to lose its strengths of that making money machines. So in terms of free cash flow, we can also see certain seasonalities, but that's not the case. We can see that it's actually increasing, making higher highs. And however, it's the same thing. They are not making greater free cash flow as the previous quarter are making. This is the concern whereby users are figuring whether or not Apple will be able to successfully create new higher free cash flow or net income or revenues. And in terms of net cash, Apple is a safe company as it has larger cash than their debts of 34 billion. Although it's decreasing, but then still this company is a safe place, safe havens, because it has a lot of cash reserve in order for them to face different economic certainties or issues as well. And in terms of ROE and ROIC, the value is actually staying at a significant great value of 138 ROE and 46% of ROIC. And in ROIC, it's slightly increasing, which is pretty good. However, we can see it's slightly decreasing in terms of ROE, which is a bit concerned, but not that because the value is still high at 138. In terms of strengths and weaknesses for Apple, we have its global brand power, premium pricing and loyal customer, as well as ecosystem lock-in. So for Apple users, it requires it is high cost to change or to use other products because Apple users, once they use Apple, iPhone, iWatch, MacBooks, all those, they don't want to switch back to Samsung because it's very useful. All the system is connected within the cloud and you can access the filing, transfer file within devices very fast, and it's actually pretty cool and pretty useful. And in terms of weaknesses, it is going to be a slower innovation in some hardware. So this is one of the problems that Apple are facing right now, and the consumers are actually concerned about this problem of Apple, whether or not they will be able to come up with something new, something revolutionary that will make this company great again, or they'll just keep on making the same iPhone, same services as well, which starts to lose the confidence of the consumers. In terms of competitors and moat, we have the Samsung, Microsoft, and Huawei, which is the Chinese brand of the phone. All those, each of them have their strengths against Apple, but I do think that whether or not they actually provide something good or something better, but in terms of Apple users, I don't think that Apple will somewhat face very high competitions from this company because Apple have their own operating system, which is iOS, which is impossible to duplicate unless someone inside the company actually open source their iOS. And it's actually quite surprising that the technology of Apple is somewhat hard to replicate in today's market, especially the auto connections as well as the navigation systems of Apple, which is super cool, super great. And I think the premium that it gives to the customer is actually pretty high because of how well and how high technology the functionality is, and they'll be able to provide more or not in the future, but that's going to be a question that's led us to see in the futures. And for the mode, it has brand loyalty, premium image, closed ecosystem, which is a very specific system of iOS, not like Android. Android is more like an open source operating system, but iOS is specifically a assets inside Apple, which is hard to duplicate, as well as the App Store control, which they have specific filtering of which apps can be displayed on the app stores to allow for the user to use it to prevent any other problems such as hacking or any viruses. So it's pretty safe. After looking at Apple, where would I put it is that Apple is a very strong company with branding and all those stuff. Just that right now it lacks of innovations as well as the fundamental of it. The financial fundamental of it starts to look at a concern. It's flattening, it's consolidate, brings attention of the users to see whether or not if Apple will successfully make higher highs or it will just fail. So I'll be placing Apple at B this time because it still has that potential. It's still that company that brings the solid economic mode that others don't have because of what the services they provide and the system that is cannot or impossible to replicate by other companies or other competitors. And moving on, we'll be looking at Nvidia, which is one of my favorite. And look at this. This is just pretty cool. We have its revenue spiking up to the high in a very, very almost 90-degree form. Similar for the net income, although we have some slightly decreasing net income for the recent quarters, maybe due to the tariffs. And we also have increasing free cash flow, which is in an uptrend, showing the sign of Nvidia making positive cash flow. And in terms of net cash, the Nvidia company is a safe haven too, where it has almost 43 billion on cash, and the net cash of the company just increasing overall from 2021 until now. It's pretty crazy. In terms of ROE and ROIC, it's also really good. Above 15%, it's actually at 115% with 69% of ROIC. And the value is just constantly increasing. It's pretty cool. And moving on, we have their strength. So Nvidia is the first, I think it's the pioneer company in terms of AI and GPU chips. And they actually dominate data center and AI accelerations. And they also have this rapid growth from the AI boom, which is the starting of ChatGPT. So it has few weaknesses, which is heavy dependence on data center and AI cells. But this is not my concern at the time because right now we are in the era of AI where everything just starts to revolve around AI and any topic will be related to AI. And the demand of AI chips and GPU right now is certainly very high due to many companies or many other countries want this product or technology, which able to provide more benefits in terms of using it in the form of AI. Until AI has become generalized, everything is going to be fine. Nvidia is going to keep growing until that point of time. And the weaknesses is that it relies on the TSMC in order to produce the chip. So the relationship between US and Taiwanese are going to be a factor to affect the company. Besides, is that this company is actually at a very high valuation. It's very expensive right now. Everyone just talking about Nvidia. It's making all-time high. I would say if you buy something that is cheap but it's crap, it's still a crap. So this is by Adam Khoo, which I totally agree with what he said. Even though this company is at a very expensive or high valuation, if the market makes a pullback on Nvidia, there will be a chance for you to enter. And because this company is a very strong company with strong economic moats. So in terms of competitor, we have the AMD, which is also a similar company which makes GPU and chips, and Intel as well as Broadcom. However, the competition is there. It's just that Nvidia is like the 龙头, it's like a dragon head because it is the first company that do the field or the sector of AI, which is the brand, the huge brand that most people will know. So in terms of mode, it has the GPU technology leaderships, it has the CUDA software platform, as well as the first mover advantage in the AI hardware. So this makes company of Nvidia become strong in terms of AI field. So with the overall sentiment of the Nvidia having strong financial statements as well as their strong positions in terms of economic mode, and in that particular sector of making AI chips and GPUs, I will be placing Nvidia successfully at the rank S, because economically, in the terms of mode as well as financial, it's just pretty solid. It's a good company, and I do believe that this company is going to continue in growing due to the high demand of AI chips and GPUs of today's era. So moving on, we have the Microsoft. So Microsoft, the revenue as shown is also in a pretty cool increasing amount, and we also have the net income. But in the previous years, we have certain amount which is less than zero. However, the company still managed to survive that and continue to grow their amount of net income. Free cash flow. The free cash flow, to be honest, is actually in increasing form. It's just that for these recent quarters, they are actually slightly spiked to the high. And right now, the concern is that whether or not in the future quarters, the free cash flow will be able to make a higher or growth in free cash flow to indicate that whether or not the company is actually making money, or it's just that the company are putting money into other sectors or other investments as well. So in terms of net cash, recently we can see that the Microsoft net cash is in the form of negative, so meaning they have more debts than their net cash. In this situation, if you were to say, or just slowly based on this data, we can actually say that Microsoft is a dangerous company because it has more debts than cash. So what if the company today just bankrupt, it have to clear out all his debt, the company won't be able to fully pay the management, and they will have negative amounts of money in their balance sheets. However, the company of Microsoft, there will be reasons why they have more debts than cash, because maybe the company are investing into different sectors such as AI, or they are investing into their own company to make better products for the users as well. But in this situation, we can see decreasing net cash, and Microsoft is staying at a dangerous position whereby they have more debts than free cash. And in terms of ROE and ROIC, it's pretty decent amount. We have above 15% of 33 in ROE and 19% of ROIC. So the value somewhat is consolidating with slight decrease of ROE, just slight decrease of ROIC, but it's pretty cool, pretty solid in terms of these values. In terms of strengths and weaknesses, it actually dominates the PC software because Microsoft is whereby we have all the Windows being able to work, the offices such as the Word or PowerPoint, as well as Excel, which is widely used in today's company for their managing paperwork and so on and so forth. In terms of huge cloud business, it has the Azure, which is far better than Google Cloud, which is mentioned, but is second to the AWS of the Amazon. And also you have strong growth in AI as well. And in terms of weaknesses, same thing. This kind of company, they also have this antitrust and regulatory pressure, and they have tough competition in clouds, which is they are second to AWS, and Google Cloud might one day become better than them as well. So Microsoft is actually in between of these two strong companies, and the pressure of keeping him wanting to strive better and not left behind is pretty high. Plus, it's actually highly reliant on enterprise clients. So basically, they earn money most of the time from the big businesses, from the big business company or big business people, whereby they will continuously use their services and products in order to do paperwork and to do servicing of their own works. And in terms of competitors, we have the Amazon in terms of the cloud, and we have the Google Cloud and AI tools such as Apple in terms of ecosystem competition. So this is whereby Apple sometimes restricts certain apps or certain function from Microsoft because Apple said that they have their own services, so they don't want to pay that money for Microsoft in order to use theirs because theirs actually better. And in the mode, we have Microsoft having the deep enterprise relationship. They have really large cloud scale, which is the Azure, and as well as their Office and Windows are locked in. So it requires high cost for users to switch from Microsoft to Apple, because basically you have to buy new equipment, the whole new equipment with Apple and Microsoft systems, And the file system sometimes can be corrupted if you transfer from one system to another iOS, which can be a bit difficult and complex, and most people don't actually want to change their software unless it's like completely start out fresh. So in terms of Microsoft, Microsoft is that company that has always been there. And whether or not you say that Microsoft are making revolutionary, but it's just that it provide a services that no one can deny. It's our daily life. We have to do words, we have to do reports, we have to do financial planning, we have to do our balance sheets in the Excel form, and we have to use the Windows to do everything, including the stuff that I'm doing right now. So I will be placing Microsoft at the positions of A, not as because of its current financial status, although it has the increasing revenue, net income, and free cash flow. Just that the net cash right there is actually making me concerned that if the net cash amount starts to decrease furthermore in the future coming years, what's going to happen to the company? So what if they bankrupt, they don't be able to pay up all the debts? But that's going to rarely happen and almost not going to happen. That's why I'm putting it an A, and it's still a very solid choice. And the 6 is going to be Amazon. So Amazon has been hot company in these few weeks, months, or quarters. It's been the topic of the stock market because it's keep on increasing in value. And in terms of revenue, you can actually see that the Amazon also shows high sales and growth with continuous increasing of revenue. And in terms of net income, the net income is actually somewhat flat for the almost the years previously, and in the recent quarters we have this really huge spike to the upside, indicating that the company is now starting to make money. So right now the concern is that whether or not the company will keep on making more, but most likely yes, because Amazon recently has been focusing their structures into AI sectors, which I do believe that they will be able to success and bring more profits from that sectors. And in terms of free cash flow, yeah, the company just making that amount of money, and to be honest, the free cash flow is increasing, and right now it starts to coming down due to seasonality, and we'll see if whether or not the free cash flow will be able to create a new high in terms of the future quarters. But overall, I do think that the company has a pretty solid free cash flow and in the increasing form. So in terms of net cash, this is where I am sort of concerned about Amazon, whereby it's a great company, it's just that the amount of net cash is just really makes me worried, because it has negative $63 billion, which is more debts than cash. So this company, although it starts to show the trend that their debts starts to decrease, meaning that maybe sooner or later, or 5 years later, they will have more cash than debts. So hopefully that happens, but this is one thing that makes Amazon a bit -1 mark like that lah. And in terms of ROE and ROIC, it's pretty good. We came back from negative to positive value and staying above the significant level of 15%, which is also similar case in terms of ROIC, but just that the ROIC is just staying at 10% only. With its strength, it's actually the world's largest e-commerce platform, and it has the it's the number one services of cloud, which is their AWS. So the second is going to be the Microsoft, third is going to be Google. And they also start growing their app businesses, and in terms of weakness, they have this heavy spending on logistic and new ventures. So this is where it happens that they actually spend a lot of money on their services as well as new ventures, which is going to be direct to the AI sectors, which actually explains why they have more debts than cash, because they actually invest a lot of money into new sectors, which hopefully in the future will make them a lot of money, just like these cloud services have. They also have these regulatory antitrust challenges, but not as frequent as Google, Meta, or Microsoft. So somewhat these companies still have that positions of safe haven from any lawsuits and so on. And in terms of competitors, we have the Microsoft, Google, and in terms of e-commerce, it is the Alibaba. But it's just that I don't want to compare with Alibaba because I'm not buying Chinese stock. Plus, I don't like buying Chinese stock because they have a lot of policy and rules which the stocks have been going down ever since. And I don't know whether it will come back. In terms of mode of Amazon, it has huge data advantage across businesses. They also have this AWS cloud dominance. They also have large scales in logistics and fulfillment. After looking at Amazon, it has pretty solid economic mode with its strengths and ability, as well as their exploration into new ventures and new sectors as well. But it's just that the money, the side, the financial statements of this company is good, it's solid. It's just that it's not that predictable like Nvidia, like Google, like Microsoft. It still have that uncertainty there. Therefore, I'll put Amazon at level of B, but it's actually still a very attractive company for me. But it's just that it has very uncertain financial balances, and it requires more quarters, more years of results in order to improve its status to us. But finally, we have the Meta platform. So recently, we just do a review on Meta, and yes, it has increasing revenue, increasing net income, and we also have their increasing free cash flow. Another thing is that their net cash is also positive, and showing that this company also has a strong position of having more cash than debt, which is also a safe place to be because it's not easily bankrupt. As for ROE and ROIC, it also is in a increasing form of 39% as well as 21%. So it's pretty solid company, and they will be able to continuously bring in growth as well as more profits in the future. So the strength of this company is that it has dominance in social media ads. It has huge user base, over 3 billion plus active users in terms of WhatsApp. We have Instagram as well as Facebook. And it also have strong AI capabilities in terms of feeds, as well as providing recommendation of ads to the user based on preference. In terms of weaknesses, almost, okay, as we mentioned, 90% of the revenue is from ads. So this part is actually the concern of this company. And also they have privacy and data regulation risk, which is why they always face like antitrust and lawsuits issues. And they have competitors such as TikTok, which is the latest generation social media platform, which actually have really huge, large user base as well. So it can actually be a threat towards Meta, but in the meantime, it's just being that too large company of social media existing in the market. And in terms of ad businesses, Google is actually their competitors. And I do remember that in the previous video we made, Google has larger ad businesses than Meta. So this is where it's interesting, and if you want to know further, just go check out the video of the Meta's review, and you will be able to understand why I choose Google over Meta. And in terms of privacy on Apple, so you have privacy rules and certain hardware rules. They will still be able to use all the platforms inside Apple devices, just that there are certain other rules that the Apples cannot access. In terms of mode, it has network effect, billions of users, very, very high user base. And if you were to advertise your product, where do you go? You go to the place where there's a lot of people. So Meta is the place where they have large users, maybe billions of them, in terms of WhatsApp, Instagram, and even Facebook, where you can put on your advertisement in order to increase your sales as well. So they have strong ads targeting with AI. So this is where they make money. Just keep pushing the ads to the users according to their preference, and make them buy the items so that they can make money too. They also have this large cash reserve for innovation as well. So pretty solid. So finally, in terms of Meta, I will be putting the company in A position. This still is that I do love this company because without any given condition of bad situation, such as on the social media platform, this company will become one of the biggest company, and plus is already a big company right now. It's just that I'm putting A instead of S is that right now the situation is that people are more prone to TikTok because Facebook, WhatsApp is kind of like old school social media platform. However, Instagram is still there because many people and many vloggers and so on and so forth are still using Instagram. So in terms of social media platform, I think it's still fine. And plus, look at the revenue and net income is significantly increasing. It's a pretty solid company. But I'll put it at the A section because it's a company that really highly relies on ads revenue. And until they have certain other source of income, which compress the percentage of the ads revenue maybe down to 8 to 7%, then only then I will consider to put Meta onto ads. Just that the company right now is at a very high valuation, very expensive price. I think it's like $700. So yeah, that's it for today's video. So and this is the final ranking. We have the winner of Nvidia being at the S tier and Tesla at the C. Basically, all the companies in Magnificent 7 is actually pretty solid. Great innovation, revolutionary innovations, great solid revenues. It's just that each of them have their own advantages and also based on the era of demand. So whether or not right now is demand on AI side, so that is why make Nvidia more favorable towards the market. That's all for today's video, and for the next video we'll be starts to looking at the Russell 2000, which is small cap companies, which is going to be the focus of our next topic and content. And if you like this content of ranking stocks and so on and so forth, and you find it very useful, please do support me by clicking the like buttons as well as subscribe to my YouTube channel. And I will see you on the next one. Bye bye.